Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is all there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like the breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, all my memories gather round her. Miners lay.
The story I'm about to tell you took place last summer when I decided to go on vacation to West Virginia, Flatwoods more specifically. I was eating at a diner, alone. I ordered some pancakes with extra syrup, the way I liked it. When I turned out the window, I saw it. It was just an unspeakable horror. It had green arms, but they weren't arms, they were claws, with 3 fingers on each of them. There was this metallic body. I could have sworn it was a miniature spaceship, but it hovered ever so slightly. And it had a cowl, the best way I could describe it, as an ace of spades kind of card. And it also had glowing eyes and an orb for a head. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever witnessed in my life. I quickly ushered out the restaurant to see what it was all about, but by the time I got out there, it had moved. Not gone, but moved. I ran up to catch up to it, but that's when my throat started hurting like hell. I clenched it and managed to let out a slight squeak of pain, suffering, and urgency to help. The monster turned then and let out this horrible hiss. Not like a snake hiss, but just a hiss I have never heard in my life before. It may have been late at night, but that monster emitted a green glow. Obviously, it was not from this world. It had to be an alien of some sort. I ran back, still clenching my throat, ran into the diner. It was late at night, so there weren't many customers, but I ran up to the counter and managed to utter the words, "Monster. Alien." And that's when the bartender looked at me. He said what I ran into was the Flatwoods Monster, a legend among West Virginia, an extraterrestrial to top all extraterrestrials. I looked at him in shock and in pain for my throat. He gazed into my throat to see how I was. He said it looked like a beehive and gave me a mirror to prove it. I was horrified. But he said the swelling should go down since he himself has had an encounter with the monster, but acted as though it was a natural thing, which was bizarre. I asked him how he could be so nonchalant about something so horrifying and unnatural. Apparently the monster has made big business for many businesses around the area. The bartender claimed the creature was harmless, but I had my doubts. He said as long as no one disturbs the monster, it will not attack. But it was hard to believe since he barely even touched me and I was still suffering from the pain in my throat. I looked up at the ceiling of my hotel room that night after I got home from the diner. It began raining outside. As I looked up to the ceiling wondering, what could this all mean? Is it an extraterrestrial? Is it a monster? Is it evil? Or is it good? While pondering all this, I heard a knock at my door. Thinking it was a worker or a staff employee at the hotel, I gazed into the people but saw nothing. I opened the door, slowly and cautiously, of course. I looked around. I didn't see anything. I closed the door, locked it, and that's when I made my biggest mistake. I turned around, and there it was again, the Flatwoods Monster. My throat began to hurt again and boil up. after it just been healed. I began screaming in pain, but no noise came out as my throat was so swelled up from the mustard-like gas material emitting from the monster. The monster hissed at me, and hissed, and eventually grabbed me with its green claws and dragged me towards the window, which I began to panic and flail. Then the monster stunned me somehow. I couldn't move a muscle, but I felt an electric-like substance going through my body. He pulled me out of the window, with him hovering, dragging me up towards the sky and towards the woods. We traveled for quite a while. I was restless, trying to escape, but at the same time not wanting to escape as to avoid falling from that great height. The monster then hammered down onto the ground in the middle of nowhere, nothing but woods for miles. As I began to squirm, the monster stunned me again with its technology. This is when I was really panicking. The monster picked me up, and a needle emitted from its side, which stabbed me, and I went unconscious. I woke up, dazed, confused, in the middle of the forest. It was morning. I don't know what had happened. Alien abduction? Most likely. I sprinted as far as I could through the woods. What it seemed like hours, I finally came back upon the diner that I ate at yesterday. I ran in. The bartender was in there. Looked at me with shocked eyes. "He abducted you, didn't he?" he asked. And I screamed yes, my throat being clear and not puffy anymore. The bartender began to laugh, which confused me and scared me. He said, "Well, you'll get used to that around here." And I said, "What do you mean?" He began to state, "None of this is real. There is no such thing as West Virginia." I began to look at him like he was insane. But then that's when I realized the truth. I closed my eyes, slowly opened them. I was not in the town. I was not in the diner. No, what appeared to be nothing but chrome and metallic everywhere. I had been abducted by the Flatwoods Monster, and they were doing experiments on me. The only reason I'm here today to tell the tale is because somehow, some way, the monster found something in its would-be heart to drop me off in the middle of nowhere again. This time for real, in order to come back and never be bothered by it again. I don't know what they did to me that night, nor do I know when they abducted me or how long I've been abducted. I don't have many memories except for those. All I know is you hear hissing. Don't automatically assume it's a snake. Before you know it, you'll be stabbed with needles and experiencing a terrible, terrible fate.